Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, to the BF Pre-Game Tailgate. My name is Mathis. You can find me, as always, on Twitter at Judge. Get an early start this morning for me on the West Coast. And I am joined by an array of personalities. My favorite thing today is we got some new personalities with us. So everybody knows the guy right next to me, Tilt Money. Everyone knows the guy down at the bottom right, Eric Schmidt, the BF Spy. But we got some new guys today. You can find him on Twitter at Uber Hansen, also known as Hansel. And we're also joined by Matt Zigai, who you may have caught on the BF Air Raid Hour this week on Thursday. So, Hansel, introduce yourself a little bit to the people. You are big on the Reddit, am I correct?
Yeah, so basically came over to Fanatics this year to write rooting interests, but started all of my writing and content creation on the Bills subreddit, our Buffalo Bills. Do a little bit of something I call shot bets on Sundays. Those come out at 12 on Twitter. Those are fun. I'm basically the drunk Bills fan, the Reddit guy. I don't know what people call me. So yeah, that's me.
And Matt, for anyone who might not have caught the Air Raid Hour on Thursday, talk a little bit about your Bills fandom and how you used to work in the sports industry.
Yeah. Well, about a year ago, I used to work as a sports anchor out in Lima, Ohio. But born and raised in Buffalo and a Bills fan my entire life. And what better way to talk shop than with you guys here as we look to go to 2-1 today.
Yeah, we look to go to 2-1 and starting things off hot comes Rico coming in with a super sticker with that $5 super sticker super chat. Thank you so much, Rico. Really appreciate it. Rico is in the building, so make sure you're on your best behavior, guys. The boss is in the building. But hey, anyone at any time, if there is something that you want to talk about this afternoon, something that you want to get off your chest, you 100% want to guarantee that we will discuss it, talk about it, bring it into the show. Send us a super chat, and we will make sure that we get it involved in the show. But I wanted to lead things off with the thing that I think is most and least concerning to me today. Least concerning to me because I have the utmost faith in Buffalo Bulls alum Cam Lewis. But the injury report came out this week. Star Lotulelei was off, was not given an injury designation with his hamstring injury. Gabe Davis with his ankle injury was not given a injury designation. The only two injury designated players this week, Levi Wallace and Dane Jackson, both of our boundary CB2s. So, Dave, I'll start with you and then we'll work our way around the horn. What are your thoughts on these DB injuries and how do you think it's going to affect this football game today?
Well, I mean, so we did our show Thursday, right? And at that point, both guys had popped up as limited, and we were kind of concerned, like maybe there was some doubt as to whether either of them were going to play. I thought at the time that it was more likely that Dane was going to play just because it seemed like Levi was dealing with like a soft tissue situation, and you never know how those things are going to kind of progress. But as they both come up to full on Friday, they still get the questionable injury designation, which is a little interesting, but they did both log full practices on Friday. So I think between the two of them, you'll get some kind of platoon out there that'll be able to get you through this game, right? I think you, me, and Matt talked about this on Thursday as well. You're going to likely see Trey all over Terry McLaurin. And then I mentioned Diami Brown hasn't really taken advantage much of that opportunity he's had with Curtis Samuel still on the shelf, which is a nice thing for the Bills this week. But between Jackson and Levi, even if they're not 100%, if they're platooning out there, I think you're going to get enough out of them, hopefully, that it won't be a huge factor in this game. That's my hope.
Mm-hmm. We got Slinksy YT coming in saying, I'm nervous when we play the Chiefs. And I think he might be referring to sort of the injuries there at the boundary at CB2. But these are the 2 weeks to get everything right on defense, get everything clicking on defense. You're playing a new quarterback in Tyler Heineke, who's making his third or maybe fourth career start. He may have started a game or two in Carolina. And then next week you got Davis Mills. So this is the time your defense is playing elite football to continue playing elite football and save some of your looks and save some of these things for the Kansas City Chiefs. The Baltimore Ravens did some really interesting things to stymie Patrick Mahomes on Monday Night Football, and I can't wait to talk about that.
Slinky, I've got something for him real quick. Slinky, first of all, thank you for your comment, but don't be too nervous about the Chiefs. I mean, we should be, I think, the same level of nervousness going into every game because we're a good football team. We're a good football team. And the thing you have to remember about the Chiefs is they're not invincible. Okay, they're a great football team, and they probably have arguably the best quarterback to ever play football. But you have to realize the Chiefs are 2-8 against the spread in that amount of games. They're not putting teams away. You can play against this team and do it well. It's possible. So I understand the nervousness, but it doesn't have to be that way.
I like that. Matt Soda coming in, and this one's for you, Hansel. He says, you don't have to say drunk Bills fan, just Bills fan will cover it. So drunk or sober. Hansel, what are your thoughts on the injuries to CB2 and how it might affect today's game?
Yeah, so I think like David kind of alluded to it with the wide receiver situation. I'm not really that concerned about the injuries. I think that you'll probably see like a platoon with Levi and Dane. If Siren Neal has to come in, he has to come in. I don't really want to see him on the boundary. But a thing I've been hammering on Twitter and every platform this week is that Tyler Heineke has only 6 snaps on the road in his NFL career. I don't know why we're not talking about that as much as we are, because that's going to be huge. Like, he's going to have to do pre-snap adjustments, and in front of that crowd, it's just going to be a mess. So I'm looking for false starts. I'm looking for blown pass pros. I'm looking for all of that. And then what happens in the secondary with, Washington's lack of, let's say, talent at the wide receiver position, I think we'll be okay with whoever's out there playing.
Yeah. Matt, last week we saw the Buffalo Bills were stupid aggressive on defense, blitzing from the secondary, blitzing with Matt Milano, trying to make both Tua and Jacoby Brissett's life a living hell. They were really trying to take – was that them trying to take advantage of a piss-poor offensive line in Miami? Or do we see more blitzing like that this week? Or do we see less of it maybe because they're not as confident in the back end with those two guys dinged up?
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. I mean, when you think about the Bills, they're not really known for blitzing a lot. And last week was definitely a change. And we saw a lot of blitzes from the secondary. Taron Johnson, Micah Hyde, each had a sack last week, obviously. And I think you see more of that today, as Hansel was talking about, right? Taylor Heineke, this is his first career road start in the NFL. And you go back to – his football career as a whole, right? He went to Old Dominion, not a major program by any means, right? How much was crowd a factor in his conference play, right? Then he goes to the XFL, right? Obviously played, for Washington in the playoffs last year, but that was a home game, right? I expect this Bills crowd to play a major factor. I think Sean McDermott can take advantage of that by sending pressure, by, showcasing some exotic blitzes and really disguising his coverages as well. I think Taylor Heineke is going to really struggle today being able to, communicate with his offense and, handle this crowd noise. So I think the Bills should dial up pressure. I expect them to, and I think it'll be effective today.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Jessica Tennis comes in saying, why are we not talking about the 25th ranked Washington defense? Why is everyone fearing it? We're actually going to get into Josh Allen next, but Eric, I want your final thoughts on these DBs and whether you're worried about the lack of maybe perceived depth at the position, especially on the boundary heading into this week 3 matchup here.
Well, I think it all starts with Scary Terry, to be honest. Terry McLaurin, he's a superstar wide receiver. I think it starts with him. And you have to wonder if Trey White's going to be shadowing him all game. The reason why I say that is, and now these two players are not comparable, but last week in Miami, Trey White did not shadow Devontae Parker for the entire game. He kind of just stayed with him when he was on his side of the field. Now, I wonder if that's going to be the same or if Trey White's going to be plastered all over Terry McLaurin. On the other hand, the other receivers that you have to worry about, Adam Humphries, the likes of players such as that. I'm not too worried about players like that, but I'll tell you who I am worried about. That's Logan Thomas. So I'm worried about him in the middle of the field, whether he's going to be going up against a linebacker or whether he's going to be going up against Taron Johnson or whether he's going to be going up against Cam Lewis or the platoon that we talked about earlier. The thing that worries me with platooning those CB2s, all 3 of them perhaps, is that what are you going to do if Washington goes hurry up and you have to put in sub packages over and over and over again? That can get stressful. Just the logistics of moving those players around. and being able to recognize that at not only as players, but for defensive coordinator and for head coach to be able to look at that and say, okay, I need this sub package. I need it now. So if we're doing that a lot, I worry about too many men on the field penalties as well. With the level of penalties that they're calling, the frequency being raised in terms of how many penalties are being called, I think that's a real concern.
We got Patrick Garrett coming in. He's feeling confident. He's sitting Scary Terry in fantasy today. I mean, yeah, you hit the nail on the head. They have a lot of secondary weapons. I'm not so afraid of Adam Humphries. I mean, Tyler Heineke looked to Adam Humphries a lot in that New York Giants game as his sort of dump off, as his sort of last resort type of guy. There was a lot of quick hitters to Adam Humphries. There was a lot of stuff to Adam Humphries in the flat, a lot of yard after catch stuff to Adam Humphries. And the reason why I'm not too worried is because I think Adam Humphries is going to get the Teron Johnson treatment. Being the slot receiver, he'll get Teron Johnson, aggressive, wrap-up tackler. I'm not too concerned there, especially with Poyer and Hyde helping out over the middle.
Yeah.
And you mentioned Logan Thomas. Mike Gesicki did make a couple of plays in that Miami game. Not that it mattered because things fell apart once they got into the red zone. They never ended up scoring, et cetera, et cetera. We all know how that Miami game played out. But Mike Gesicki still did have a couple of grabs. So Logan Thomas, guys like J.D. McKissick, Antonio Gibson out of the backfield, tons of weapons there for Washington. We just got to do the same thing we did last week. Matt Milano, Tremaine Edmonds, Teron Johnson, the safeties, whoever it is, we just got to tackle at first contact. If we can continue tackling at first contact, we will be, again, successful in this game. Something that we haven't seen from this Bills defense in the past. We've seen some weak tackling. They have been a lot better this season, especially towards the line of scrimmage tackling. We need to keep that up this week. We will come back to Washington's offense, but a couple of people now have mentioned Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills offense and want to talk about that a little bit. So before we get to the inactives, which come out at 11:30, so in about 10-ish minutes, we'll start. I'll read through. We don't know, no thigh doctor this week, no thigh dance this week, but I will read through his injury designations for this week and his predictions, and we'll talk about the inactives coming up here at 11:30. But before that, Josh Allen. We're gonna go in reverse order this time, and I just want to get your thoughts on what Josh Allen needs to do today to sort of get in a rhythm and get his game back on track. But before that, my man Sergio Chavez from the AZ, just like me, checking in from Highmark Stadium. Let's effing go. Bucket list, baby. Yeah. Sergio, his first game in Highmark Stadium. So happy for him. He was sending me some pictures this morning. Absolutely pumped to see it. He was hanging out with John Fina at one of the tailgates there. So having a good time. Sergio, enjoy yourself, man. And we will be rooting for you and the Buffalo Bills from afar today. But Josh Allen, what's he got to do to get back on track? Eric, I'll start with you.
So I think that this is actually a really good game to see some designed runs from Josh. If you want to really get him fired up in a good way, build his confidence early in the game, I think the design runs are going to be really effective against this Washington defense. And if they're blitzing at the rate that they've been blitzing, through weeks 1 and 2, not only is he going to be more effective in the design runs, but he's going to be able to absolutely shred that blitzing defense. We know historically that Josh is very good against this type of defense. What I would like to see from Josh is more action in the middle of the field on these crossing patterns. I've talked with BF's film expert Clay Troya about this extensively. I think the crossers need to come back as far as play calling is concerned. I think that's a feature of the Bills offense that was extremely effective in 2020 that we haven't seen enough yet in 2021. So that's a feature I would like to see come back. Now, maybe one reason why that's not happening, and people aren't really making a big deal of this, but you're trying to integrate Emmanuel Sanders into this offense. It may not be as simple as it seems at a service level. Reason being, Emmanuel Sanders is not John Brown. He's not a downfield burner. John Brown is. So you're trying to integrate that. I think that's been something that's added into Josh Allen's struggles and complexities with this offense a little bit. So I'd like to see more crossers. I'd like to see some design runs. And I would like to continue to see Rambo Knox continue his breakout with Josh.
Yeah, we got Terrence Reese coming in and saying design runs is a terrible idea. Allow the running backs to handle that load. I would respectfully disagree. I won't even say it has to be design runs from the Buffalo Bills today. Daniel Jones ran for 90 yards last week on this Washington football team. I was listening to WGR this morning. Sal Capaccio looked back at some of the games last year where the the Washington football team played scrambling quarterbacks. Jalen Hurts and Russell Wilson had a day against this football team running the football. So even if it's not a design scramble, I think you could see a little bit more of what we saw against the Pittsburgh Steelers, where we try to spread them out. We try to stymie that pass rush by making them put a ton of DBs on the field. The offensive line's going to have to step up. Receivers are going to have to get open. Josh is going to have to take those checkdowns. Josh is going to have to run the ball effectively and protect the football, slide. It doesn't necessarily have to be designed runs, but when quarterbacks have shown that they can be effective running the football against a team like the Washington football team, it's definitely something I think you have to consider. Matt, what do you think is the key for Josh Allen to get back into rhythm today?
Yeah, no, I agree with Eric there in regards to Josh running the football. I mean, you look at the way defenses are attacking the Bills, at least, so far through the 2021 season, right? Both Pittsburgh and Miami were consistently bringing an extra defensive back onto the field, daring the Bills to run the ball, right? And we've seen clearly that Josh is a bit off right now throwing the football. And so what better way to try to get him in rhythm, start building up that confidence again than, as you mentioned, running the football. But, I think when we look at Josh from a passing standpoint, I want to see the Bills incorporate some screens today. I mean, whether that is Devin Singletary, whether that is some tunnel screens, quick passes to Diggs, Beasley on the outside. I think the Bills need to get Josh some completions early, right? We see he's completing his passes about a 58% or 55% clip this year so far, I should say. So get him in rhythm early, get some quick completions, some easy completions, and then allow for the downfield passing attack to open up. So I expect Washington to almost mimic what Miami and Pittsburgh both tried to do to the Bills with the extra defensive back, dare the Bills to run the football. And I think designed runs, some early completions will hopefully help Josh get back into a rhythm and get back to, his 2020 self, which we all, really want to see happen here.
Yeah, I saw a number of people mentioning, and Eric, you might have been a part of this in the BF family chat. John Bostic. I think the Washington football team is going to want to keep John Bostic off the field as much as possible, because when a guy like John Bostic is on the field, guys like Dawson Knox, guys like Cole Beasley over the middle, running backs out of the backfield, they can take advantage of John Bostic, who's not as good in pass coverage. But yeah, this Washington
I don't think they will either.
Yeah,
because their linebacking core has really no depth.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I mean,
Davis is another young player there too.
And I went back and I watched went back and watched some of them and the games for Washington football team. Jamin Davis we loved him in the pre-draft process. Ask anyone in the BF family. We love this dude, but he's still young. He's still a very raw player, and he's still getting his sea legs under him in the National Football League. He struggled week 1 against the LA Chargers. He was better last week, but he still wasn't great. So the linebackers, I think, are the ones you're going to want to exploit this week. That's why a lot of people are predicting Cole Beasley to have a rebound game. I personally think Isaiah McKenzie should start getting more involved. Get those linebackers moving sideline to sideline with some of the jet sweeps and things of that nature. But what do you think, Uber? What's the key to the Buffalo Bills' success in getting back into rhythm today?
Yeah, I guess I'll go a little different way. And let me preface this by saying I don't think it's as bad as some people are making out to be, but Brian Daboll's play calling, I'm looking for a little bit more consistency from there. Last week, there was one play where they split out Devin Singletary wide, and they had Cole Beasley lined up in the backfield. It was a really weird thing to see right from the start, and Josh ended up missing Singletary probably like 5 inches over his head. But Singletary is also 5'7", so there's a reason for that. I'm looking for some consistency this week, and then also pre-snap motion. So I want to see them try to force mismatches. Find a way to get Cole Beasley on, a linebacker or an outsider corner where he can just use his feet and get open. Find a way to get Dawson Knox on John Bostic if you can. Just force those mismatches, and they can use pre-snap motion, which they've been doing so much less this year. And you also mentioned Isaiah McKenzie. We haven't seen one of those push passes yet. Not a single one, I don't think. So I want to see that and let McKenzie try to get the edge. I mean, he can run punts back. Why can't he run a jet sweep back?
Yeah, no, for sure. And it's crazy. I see a bunch of different people in the comment section here talking about the wind and how the wind could be a factor today. I have the weather report up. I don't have the wind. I don't have the specificities of the wind, but it's going to be 61 degrees today. Going to be about 65 at kickoff, a little cloudy. So it's going to be a decent weather day to some extent here, but the wind could possibly be a factor. If we have to run the football Dave. If we have to be a traditional running team today because the wind is a factor and we can't hit that deep ball and the defense knows it and they bring guys up, is this team talented enough to do what needs to get done in the trenches to run the football on Chase Young, Montez Sweat, Deron Payne, and Jonathan Allen? Matt Ioannidis is out today, which is huge for the Buffalo Bills.
Mm-hmm.
He's one of the key components in that defensive line. He eats up a lot of blockers, so it's going to be Tim Settle today, filling in his role as that third defensive tackle, the run plugger. Do you think the Buffalo Bills will have some success running the football the traditional way today?
I mean, I don't see why not. I still think they should. I don't think they should necessarily change their personnel formations. I think they should still spread it out and run out of more spread formations. At least get guys away from the box like they did at least late in that Steelers game and early on in the Miami game. I think that's the Bills' best chance of having success on the ground. If Washington doesn't respect that, then I do think that getting guys like Cole Beasley involved early in the short passing game should have that should take some of the element of the wind out of play, right? The short passing game. Although Washington will be ready for that, I do think that, like Uber said, the pre-snap motion is something that's been like documented pretty well by different Bills content creators and media this past week, that they've just been doing it far less. Doing that with guys like Cole Beasley, having him in motion at the time of the snap is going to be such an advantage on top of the advantages he already has. So I like spreading them out to run if they have to. I do think that this offensive line, although they were a little better last week against Miami, I still don't think they were that great. So if you want to, as an offensive line, maybe get some swagger back, get people to stop talking about you in a bad way, maybe a traditional run game, even though out of like a spread formation, running the ball more. If they're going to dare you to do that, maybe that's a way for this offensive line to get a little bit of their swagger back and say, like, look, we can punch these guys in the mouth. And look, Washington's defensive line is good across the board, but their main bread and butter, at least on paper, are those edge rushers. So again, if you're able to run the ball, you kind of take those guys out of play a little bit. And like Uber said, screen game's a great counter against pass rushers. So screen game, running the ball, and quick passing to Beasley, like that really should take the wind factor out of play, in my opinion.
We got Tanner Daly coming in here saying, I don't need a big game from Allen because I'm a Bills fan, not a fanboy. As long as Buffalo gets the dub, who cares? And this could be a situation where, right, like Josh Allen could come out today and he could throw for 220 yards, run for 60, and have like 3 total touchdowns, and people will still complain because he threw for 220. This could be you could be looking at I hate making comparisons to 2019 Josh Allen. I hate it because he's come so far as a quarterback. Just because statistically something might look like 2019 doesn't mean on the field it looks like 2019. But he might not have to be an MVP today for the Buffalo Bills to win this football game. And his stat line might look more like 2019, where, he gets 25 to 30 throws today. He throws for 220, 230, but he also runs for 60, accumulates a couple of touchdowns, and the Buffalo Bills are able to win this football game. There's still going to be a number of people who complain about it, and it's just going to be them spewing bullshit out of their mouth for attention. Tanner is spot on. Tanner is spot on here. Josh Allen doesn't need to be an MVP for us to win this football game, especially if the win might be too bad, especially if that's just not what the defense is giving us. If the defense isn't going to allow him to play at a playoff caliber, other parts of the offense need to step up, and he just needs to facilitate. And then as those other parts of the offense step up and facilitate, then defenses will play them differently, and Josh Allen will have a chance to once again show his MVP form. So I'm with you, Tanner, there. I think that's spot on. Yeah, go for it.
You have to be careful about using statistics as a mirror image of a quarterback. So let's talk about completion percentage for a second. Completion percentage is not reflective of a quarterback's overall. It's not a golden answer. It doesn't give you all the answers for, is this quarterback a good quarterback or a bad quarterback? So if you're measuring any player by one statistic, you're not going to get a real image of who that player is, what they're capable of, what their capabilities and limitations are. You're not going to get an accurate picture of that. If you want to look at a statistic that's a lot more complete in its coverage of a player, look at something like offensive DVOA, which measures how efficient an offense is. That's going to tell you a lot more about how Josh Allen the offense is playing than if you just look at his passing yards or his completion percentage. In the grand scheme of things, those two things don't matter much at all. But offensive DVOA matters very, very much
Mhm.
in terms of how effective is your team at putting points on the board.
Yeah.
And it's worth. Oh, sorry.
Go
It's worth
for it.
noting that. Sorry, it's worth
No, go
noting
for it.
that the pass rush of the Steelers is one of the best in the NFL. The corners of the Dolphins is one of the best in the NFL. It's not like Allen put up these stats against the Jets defense. He put up the stats against two of the better defenses at combating what he can do. And frankly, this Washington football team, they do have a pass rush, though it hasn't been as great as last year this season. They are a good defense. So the first three defenses he's playing are significantly better than most of the other quarterbacks that are putting up big stats or playing right now.
Yeah, and we got.
Yeah.
I like this one from Aston Park. I just need a big game from Josh Allen when the situation dictates it. Buffalo Fanatics posted that little 5-second video of Josh Allen just staring on the bench, right? Up 35-0 or 28-0. He's got this look on his face, like, what the fuck am I doing? So I really expect Josh Allen to come out and play smarter today. I'm going to quickly read through some of Alex Lucci's injury designations for this week. The inactive list should be coming out any minute now. In terms of players who are questionable today, this is what our BF medical expert Alex Lucci has to say about cornerback Dane Jackson. Dane saw 70% of the snaps in week 2 after Levi Wallace went down with cramping. While he did not suffer an apparent injury during the game, he is listed with a knee. Tough to speculate, as it can be anything from a bad bruise to tendonitis. Dane was able to practice in full on Friday, which bodes well for the game on Sunday. Alex Lucci's prediction for Levi Wallace today: active. Levi Wallace. Levi saw 40% of the snaps in week 2 and did not return after leaving for cramps. Interestingly, he popped up on the injury report with a knee this week. McDermott called this an irritation thing, which sounds like a patellar tendonitis to me. Levi went from full to limited to full throughout the practice week. The downgrade in the middle of the week raised some eyebrows, but McDermott did not sound concerned when he touched on his status on Friday. Levi should play for the Bills on Sunday. Again, his prediction is active. Obviously, Star Lotulelei is going to be active, but limited, and Gabriel Davis will be active, but he thinks that he will once again be limited in his snap count. So you're probably going to see
inactives.
All right. Can you roll them out for us, Dave?
Yep. Inactives today for the Bills: running back Matt Breida, offensive tackle Tommy Doyle, defensive end F.A. Obata, defensive end Boogie Basham, and defensive tackle Harrison Phillips. So both corners are up and active. And
there was no call up for a guy like Cam Lewis either. So this could get super interesting. It appears like the Bills are I can't tell without it right in front of me, but Breida is
That's an interesting one.
Out. Who is now in for Matt Breida? Who's it would be the extra linebacker, correct? They are starting Andre Smith.
Yeah, Andre Smith. Yep.
So maybe the Buffalo Bills are expecting a heavy dose of running the football from the Washington football team, want those extra bodies at linebacker. And then F.A. Obata is inactive this week. And he is inactive this week. And who is the extra player who is getting the call for F.A. Obata that wasn't typically active?
F.A. was inactive last week as well.
Oh, was he inactive last week as well?
Yes, he was.
Oh, okay. My apologies. So it looks like it's the same everywhere. The only difference is Breida for Andre Smith. So this might seem like maybe this is a situation, and let me know if I'm wrong here. Secondary aside, is this a situation where Moss and Singletary have just proven that they are the 1As and they are the 1Bs, and Matt Breida is now going to get the TJ Yeldon treatment?
I think
what do you think, Eric?
I think with Matt Breida, it's more that he's a situational running back. You can't use him as a general purpose back like you can, for Singletary and Moss. I know they have different skill sets and they do different things well, but Matt Breida is more of a specialty type player. You're using him in specific sub packages and specific play sets, and to do specific things. You're utilizing very keynote parts of his skill set in order to accomplish those tasks. He can't serve that general purpose role, and that's okay, because if you start using him too much, well, now you have a tell on your hands. Because if you're using Breida, for every little sub package to do this bubble screen, or you want to do this, end around or something with Breida, well, then teams are going to know that's coming. And so you can't just do that all the time. So I think that's why Breida is inactive. And yeah, I mean, the two, Singletary and Moss, have proven that they can handle the general purpose roles and fulfill the different play sets that Dable cooks up for them.
And this makes me a little extra confident in my prediction this week that Isaiah McKenzie was going to have a big day, because this could also be an indication that Isaiah McKenzie's HC joint is now no longer questionable, no longer shaky. The Bills have 100% confidence that he's not going to get knocked out of a football game due to injury. They don't need a backup jet sweep guy. They don't need a backup kick returner. They don't need a backup sort of gadget guy, because we talked about how important the screen game is going to be today, how important the quick hitters are going to be today. And you're not going to have a guy like Matt Breida there to contribute to that. So it could be full on to a guy like Isaiah McKenzie this week. Matt, I want to ask you this question, and Hansel, I'll have you follow up.
Yeah.
Andre Smith active. And again, we don't have access to the knowledge the Buffalo Bills doctors have. We don't know how truly healthy or not healthy Levi Wallace and Dane Jackson are. The Bills had an opportunity this week. It seems to me, from appearance's sake, Andre Smith hasn't played in weeks. He does something completely different than Matt Breida does. Did we really need Andre Smith this week? Would you feel more comfortable if we had elevated Cam Lewis from the practice squad, activated Cam Lewis, and had that extra corner? Because we now find ourselves in a situation where if Dane and Levi get knocked off the football field, it's going to be Saran Neal at the boundary corner. So, Matt, what are your thoughts on Andre Smith, not over Matt Breida, but over an insurance policy like Cam Lewis?
Yeah, that it's definitely a bit concerning to me because Saran Neal is the last guy that I want to be covering on the outside. He just really hasn't done it for me in coverage at all, whether that was in the preseason or in any of his action, throughout his Bills career. And so that is definitely something that the Bills, I'm sure, do not want to happen. I know McDermott obviously loves Saran Neal from a special team standpoint, one of those glue guys, it seems, but in coverage, it's just not what the Bills really need defensively here. And so it is a bit concerning. I mean, Cam Lewis, is it a substantial enough upgrade to justify him getting called up? I'm not sure. I mean, if Cam Lewis or Saran Neal ultimately are seeing the field today for the Bills in coverage, it's a concern regardless. So, hopefully Levi and Dane are able to get through their injuries, whatever they've been dealing with. Obviously, both of them being active is a good sign. I would be very confident in both of them on the outside. It'll be interesting to see ultimately who gets the start and how healthy Levi is. I like Dane's game a lot last week. If we're being honest.
And were they playing shadow games? Was Sean McDermott playing a little bit of Belichick shadow games? These players are questionable, but they're really not injured. Don't worry.
Then Pierre comes in and says, Cam Lewis hasn't shown much either. Listen, I'm going to defend my UB boy here. I'm going to take a second. Listen, Pierre, this is not bro. I'm going to just take a second to defend my UB boy here. People were coming at Dane Jackson all training camp like, oh, the preseason, he looks like garbage. And then sure enough, a game pops up and Dane Jackson looked just fine. Yeah. Some guys just show up when they put the pads on and it's game time. Cam Lewis played relatively well in the minor amounts and the limited snaps he's gotten in his NFL career. Cam Lewis hasn't embarrassed himself. I personally would have liked that insurance policy over Andre Smith, a guy who's going to play like 5-6 snaps on special teams, who they've already shown through 2 weeks they don't need. I would have preferred that insurance policy. Maybe the Buffalo Bills didn't want to utilize the injury designation so soon, et cetera, whatever, because you only get 2 of them with a guy like Cam Lewis if it is not for COVID. Harrison Phillips, I'm not going to throw a temper tantrum this week like I did last week on the pregame show. The Buffalo Bills proved me wrong. Vernon Butler went in there and he played serviceably, but Alex Lucci was surprised at how quickly Harrison Phillips came back from his knee injury. Is this not on the injury report? Harrison Phillips not on the injury report. Is this more his knee just not being right yet? He needs more time to rest, or is Harrison Phillips' career in Buffalo coming to an end? Hansel, what do you think? Is this injury related, or is this he's just not good enough to cut it? And this could be it for Harrison Phillips.
This is hard for me because I love Harrison Phillips. Actually, one of my bold predictions this year was 10 sacks, which was bold, super bold. I wasn't putting money on it, but I threw that out there. I think his career is about done in Buffalo. The fact that Justin Zimmer's active and Harrison Phillips is not. They're seeing something valuable in Zimmer and not in Phillips. And then meanwhile, Starr is, the pure one tech they needed. So it's just hard to rotate Harrison onto the field. And I don't think that they see value in him anymore. I don't know if he even makes it through the rest of the season if they don't try to move him at the deadline for something, which is a huge bummer because he just seems to be this really good guy and really good piece in the locker room. But yeah, I'd side with his career is about done. I don't think it's injury related at all.
Yeah. Anyone have any thoughts, Matt?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if his career is over in Buffalo. I think one of the most puzzling things to me about the Bills and their evaluation of talent is the way that they look at Vernon Butler. I mean, to me, Vernon Butler has been very, very below average in his time in Buffalo. And I think that Harrison Phillips has shown that he should be getting the playing time that Vernon is ultimately getting now. And unfortunately, it doesn't look as though McDermott, the Bills' defensive coaching staff, Leslie Frazier as well, views it that way. Now, do I think that Harrison Phillips his career in Buffalo is over? I wouldn't go that far. I think that he provides them with a depth piece. If Starr or Vernon were to go down, you can plug and play him there when needed. But it is puzzling to me that Vernon is getting those snaps that I think Harrison Phillips ultimately should be.
Does he have the injury history that Phillips has, though? I mean,
yeah,
I think that's an important distinguishing factor. And when you look at a player like Justin Zimmer, I mean, he's a way different defensive tackle than Harrison Phillips. So let's get that out of the way right now. They're two extremely different players, night and day. It's almost even difficult to compare the two. But Zimmer can do a lot of things, and he's fast. He's agile. He's a D tackle speed rusher from the inside. It's extremely valuable. So I think they like Zimmer more, but it's not an overreaction. And here's why. To that comment that just popped up, because Justin Zimmer is a different defensive tackle. We can't compare him and Harrison Phillips in the same ways. It's much more easier to do that with Butler and with Phillips. So I think unfortunately, because of Harrison Phillips' injury, that set him back a lot in terms of how much can he contribute from an availability standpoint, from a volume standpoint, in terms of how many snaps he gets. We know this defense on the Bills is very rotational. If you can't meet the standard for that rotation, it's hard for Leslie Frazier and Sean McDermott to put you out there.
And we got Jessica Tennis coming in saying we're overreacting. We are heavy at defensive line right now. Someone needs to sit at defensive tackle. Butler and Zimmer offer something different. Isn't Butler and Zimmer or Butler and Phillips are our one techs, right? If anything, Zimmer's got that versatility between the 3 tech and the 1 tech. People would argue that Vernon Butler has that versatility between the 3 tech and the 1 tech. I would argue he doesn't because he's lazy as hell. He's pretty much just a space eater because since he got paid, he hasn't done jack. But eat up space. Not a big fan of Harrison or of Vernon Butler for anyone who can't tell. But at this point in their careers, Vernon Butler and Harrison Phillips are the same guy. They are 1 techs who, if their conditioning's right, can 3 tech it. So the Buffalo Bills are choosing a healthy Vernon Butler over it's either a healthy Harrison Phillips and we're not overreacting, or it's the injuries that are playing a role in why Harrison Phillips isn't playing. So respectfully disagree. I don't think it's an overreaction to have the conversation. Rico comes in and says this has nothing to do with injury. Putting the best on the field is what Bills fans clamor. That's what coach is doing. We kept Vernon Butler over Jefferson and playing Phillips and playing over Phillips, Zimmer, Butler season. So apparently Vernon Butler is doing something. I don't know what that something is.
He's from Carolina. That's what he's doing.
Yeah.
I'm not okay. So I'm ripping on Vernon Butler, right? And I've been doing so for 2 years because I think he's the kind of guy who took a paycheck and quit. I really do. My guy BFLO Mafia News on Twitter today was posting some highlights from that Patriots game where he was just jogging. He just blends in. Like Vernon Butler has made one play in his career in Buffalo that has stuck out to me. There was a San Francisco play on the goal line where he, broke contain and stuffed the guy on the goal line. Other than that, Vernon Butler has done nothing but blend in his time here in Buffalo. You notice Ed Oliver when he's on the football field. You notice Justin Zimmer when he's on the football field. Star Lotulelei was getting 3 guys blanketing
that was
him
very good last week
and opening things for the edge. Vernon Butler is just kind of there.
I'll counter that by saying Harrison Phillips when he plays is just kind of there ever since
Yeah.
he got injured.
Yeah.
Okay, let's
yeah.
try to separate our
Yeah.
like of the person
Yeah.
versus
Right,
the play on the
right.
field. The play on the field between the two of them is comparable, right?
Which is
And
what Rico's talking about.
which is what Rico's talking about. And you could even say maybe Butler's even been a little better than Phillips. We love Phillips as a person. We love everything he does locally in the community. We love how we all wanted him to be the heir apparent to Kyle because they were similar. They looked kind of the same. And like there was all these reasons we wanted. We were rooting for Phillips and we still are. But when it comes to on the field, he has not been the same since he got injured at the beginning of 2019 or 2020, excuse me. No, 2019 in that Bengals game. So, I mean, has he put a lot of good football on the field? Not really, right? Like, not really. So, I mean, it's not surprising to me. I think it's just a matter of trying to separate the like of the player and the person versus the play on the field.
All right, we got about 4 more minutes of Hansel here today. So, Hansel, before you head out, I want you to give me, first of all, I want you, because you're heading out to the Bills Backers Albany bar.
Yeah.
You mentioned to me that you help set things up and run things. Talk a little bit about Bills Backers Albany, a little bit, and then give us your game prediction.
Yeah, we'll do. So we meet at a bar called McGeary's Irish Pub right in downtown Albany. I've been going there for now, 5-6 years. Completely changed my fandom. I mean, I was always a diehard fan, but that put me on a whole nother level. We would pack that bar, standing room only, prior to COVID, with I'd say 200 people. I'm probably exaggerating, but screaming our heads off. I was there when the Ravens, the Bengals beat the Ravens. I tackled some strangers onto the ground. We just started crying. If you can get to a Bills Backers bar and you can't get to the game, go to a Bills Backers bar. It's awesome to be around people that are all rooting for the same exact thing. And I will stand Bills Backers bars till the end of time. So I'm super stoked to go over there. I think we have about 75 people that we know will be there. We'll probably get close to 100. And it's only Bills on TV. If you come in there and you ask for, hey, can you put the Giants game on? You get laughed out of the bar. So we love it there. We love it there.
So you can bring football on their phone, I guess, is that old Direct TV commercial?
Yeah. Prediction. I actually, and I hate doing score predictions just because people will always razz on you when you get it wrong. And it's like, do you realize how hard score predictions are? But I do one every single week on Reddit. And I went really bold on this one just because I'm really bullish about the Bills right now. And I am not afraid of Taylor Heineke. Bills 35, Washington football team 17. I just think the defense is going to just be all over on the pass rush. Look, he's started 4 games. He played well against Tampa in the playoffs. He played well against the Giants last week. That's wonderful. But there's a reason he was in the XFL 18 months ago. He's not the second coming of Tom Brady.
He's not Kurt Warner. He's not Kurt.
No, he's not Kurt Warner. Now he might make me eat my words. I don't know. But I will say, last thing I'll say, if the Bills are a Super Bowl team, which I still think they are, I'm not overreacting on a Steelers loss. I'm not overreacting on Josh Allen not playing up to par. If they're a Super Bowl team, you do not lose to the Washington football team at home in September. You just don't lose this game. Don't expect them to. Expect them to basically rout the football team.
All right. Before you go, I got one more thing. Everyone who watches the Air Raid Hour knows how much I love my clips. They know I love my clips. So I got a little clip here for you.
Terry just texted me to smile.
Who is Terry? Terry Pagula. Who's he going to be texting a smile to after this game? Who's one player who's really going to stand out and shine in this football game and get a nice little smile emoji from the owner?
I'm going full time Cole Beasley. I think Cole Beasley is going to have probably 8 catches today. He's going to work the middle of the field. The Washington football team's not good in the middle. His line right now on DraftKings is 4.5. If I could legally bet, which I can't, I would hammer the over on that every single week. If it's 4.5, he'll have probably 8 catches this week. So big on him.
We got Rico coming in saying, Uber, you're going to have to show Rico how to start a Bills Backers bar there in Nova Scotia. So you're going to have to give him a rundown on what it is to start one of those. I'm a little jealous. Like I came out here to Phoenix. I was like, maybe I'll start a Backers bar, but there was already one really big one out here. I mean, lucky saves me the time and the energy, but man, that must be it must be just super awesome to be like just a part of that and to be one of the people who helps create that. So kudos to you. You can follow him on Twitter at Uber Hansen, and explain to the people how you could find you on Reddit, because I have no idea how the old Reddit works.
Yeah, if you go to Reddit, go to our Buffalo Bills, that's called the subreddit. You'll see me. I post every Friday a matchup preview, which is a big, long 3,000-word essay on the Bills' upcoming game. And I also do throw up my Buffalo Fanatics post every Tuesday around 9 a.m. in the morning. So if you go, you'll see it on there. It's usually one of the first ones. So.
All right. Thank you, Uber. We appreciate it. And we will see you again on the BF Tailgate for sure. Thank you so much, man.
Thanks, guys. Go.
All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, we are about 2 or 3 minutes away from something pretty sweet that we had cooking for you this week. So one of our guys here at the Buffalo Fanatics, Leston Harris, he is actually at the Buffalo Bills helmet bar. I don't know how many of you guys have seen this on social media, whether it's Instagram or Twitter or Facebook, but there is a family out in Canada who has straight up created a Buffalo Bills bar that is shaped like a Buffalo Bills helmet. And we are going to bring them onto the show here in a quick minute to talk about what it means to what went into building this bar. And what the whole bar is about. So we're gonna bring them on right now. Actually, add them to the stream. Hey, how you guys doing today? And we're gonna full screen you guys so we get a full view. This right here, ladies and gentlemen, is the Buffalo Bills helmet bar. So if you guys could tell us a little bit about this creation here and what went into the creation of the Buffalo Bills helmet bar.
So it's sort of a long story. I'll try and be a little bit brief. My dad's used to be and he was the Bills teacher with the put the stickers on kids' assignments and stuff like that. And all the parents knew that he was the Bills teacher. One of the moms from his classroom of those students just happened to acquire it one day and said to him, "Hey, I'll give you this Buffalo Bills helmet. I'll send it in with my kid. Oh wait, you could park your car in it." So it turns out he had to go pick it up. He picks it up, and we've had it for 25 years. That's why it's red and not the white that it should be now. And a couple of years ago, we built this patio, and we watched we're Canadian. We watched the Raptors win the championship out here. It was a beautiful June afternoon, and we got a little bit too deep with our beers. And there was this open space along the patio that was just waiting to be built and dealt with. And it was actually my idea. I said, we got that Buffalo Bills helmet on the back of the property. We got to build a bar. We've got to turn it into a bar. And sure enough, we hauled it back here the next day, stood it up, and the rest was history. I mean, we did have to do a little bit of construction.
Well, the mom, when she called me, she said, "It'll make a hell of a bar if you ever have the right spot for it." So I never realizing the size of it. But to give you perspective, how she came about it was this was the back wall in a sports store in a shopping mall. And so it was mounted to the wall, and it was the sales counter. So when the store went out of business, there was a smart caretaker at the mall who said, "We can't son on it." And the mom happened to be at the mall the day of a major rainstorm, and half of the helmet blew off the roof and almost killed somebody in the parking lot. And he just happened to be sitting in the office when this guy came in panicked and went, "Holy crap, this thing's going to kill somebody. We got to get rid of it." And she went, "I know the guy." And that's us.
And that's us. So we've had it for 25 years. It served in various roles. It most recently was just our firewood pile, and then we put it up here after the Raptors won the championship. And we added a back and we added a bar. I mean, the only thing that we had ahead of time was the fiberglass outer shell. And we made a social media account on Twitter and on Facebook and then on Instagram. And but even before COVID prevented a lot of people, specifically Canadians, from going to games, we did that and had a couple. We're trying to become a sort of hub for Canadians who are stuck not being able to cross the border. And it's been a really, really great time meeting people. It's been super fun.
That is absolutely spectacular. So tell people, before you guys go, tell people where they can find you on social media, and if there's any fellow Canadians, how they can reach out to you if they maybe want to stop by and watch a game there.
So we are the Bills Cellar Bar, and you can find us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And we're just we're literally in our backyard. We're not like an establishment or anything. So we, just DM us if we're in the town of Keswick, about 45 minutes north of Toronto, right on Lake Simcoe. And if you want to pop by for a game, just send me a message and I'll add you to the little Excel spreadsheet of all the games and all the people, and we'll go from there.
Spectacular. So a year from now or 2 years from now, when this whole COVID mess sort of blows over, is this a movable bar? Do you guys have any plans of ever taking this beauty to an actual Buffalo Bills tailgate? Are there any plans in the works?
We've been asked a million times that question.
We're, I'm kind of the construction guy behind building everything, and it's pretty damn good.
Yeah.
So
we watched every single game out here last year, including the Cardinals game, which wasn't a very good game, but it wasn't a very, very good day in the town of Keswick because we had a tornado kind of rip through here. It took out part of our fence. It knocked out our power at halftime, so we didn't get to see the second half. But the bar was intact, so it is permanently affixed right behind me.
I love it,
heavy fiberglass.
Yeah.
So it's like it weighs an awful lot to even think about moving half of it, let alone the whole thing.
All right, boys, give us your game prediction here. How are you guys feeling heading into this matchup with the Washington football team?
Okay, I'll go first. I had 28-13 Bills. I think Taylor Heineke's going to be better than we expect. I think we have a defensive touchdown, and I think 2020 Josh returns. So give me 15 points, 28-13.
Awesome.
I'm Bills 14.
Awesome. Leston, you got a prediction there?
Had to one up.
I'm your dad.
All right. So,
hey,
gentlemen,
guys, thanks so much for having us.
Yeah. Thank you so much, guys. We really appreciate it. We're going to have you back on again at some point in the future. For those of you watching, ladies and gentlemen, we will be back in 1 minute with our roundtable discussion leading you right up to kickoff between the Buffalo Bills and the Washington football team. But don't go away. We'll be right back in 1 minute. Thank you, gents.
Go Bills! Go Bills! Woo!
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. And I don't know why my face is doing this. So welcome back to all the attention on me. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the BF Tailgate Roundtable, leading you right up till kickoff. We actually only have 5 minutes left of Matt Zygai. So if you could, Matt, give us your bold predictions and your game predictions for this football game before you leave us here.
Yeah. Well, I made my prediction on Thursday, obviously 31-17 Bills. I think the Bills are really going to find their groove today, right? Specifically from an offensive side of things. I think Josh Allen does return to his 2020 form, and I think Stephon Diggs is going to have a really big game today. Everybody's been talking about Cole Beasley. I do think Beasley does well. He'll always get his catches, but I like Kendall Fuller in the slot for Washington. I think that he is going to prove to be a tough matchup for Beasley, and I think it may cause some trouble there. And I really think Stephon Diggs can capitalize on the outside. I mean, William Jackson, Ben St. Juste, a rookie third-round corner. I assume that William Jackson will get Diggs a lot today. I would be very uncomfortable if I was Washington with a third-round corner on a rookie third-rounder on Stephon Diggs. And so I do think that Diggs has a really big game. But I'm really looking for the offense to click. I think that is the thing that obviously a lot of Bills fans have been talking about, specifically from the quarterback position. I think Josh does it today. I think the Bills win 31-17.
All right. I love it. I love the prediction. Any final thoughts before you head out here to go enjoy this beautiful? Oh, I think it's a beautiful. I just assume if the weather is nice where I am. I just assume the weather is nice everywhere. If the weather is nice in Orchard Park, yeah, go for it, Eric.
I have a question for Matt. Matt, what are your thoughts on Dawson Knox? I want to know what your thoughts are. There's been lots of talk within the Buffalo Fanatics circle about Dawson Knox. I'm of the opinion that he is in the midst of a breakout. I want to hear your thoughts on where you think Dawson Knox is at.
Yeah, no, that's a great question, Eric. And, in my group chat with my friends, right, there's a lot of talk about Dawson Knox as well. And I feel like he gets a bad rap with Bills fans. I was listening to Sal Capaccio this week, and he kind of broke it down perfectly, right? Dawson Knox could go out and have 150 yards receiving today, but next week, if he drops a ball, all the Bills fans are going to be on him, right? And I think you look at Dawson Knox. Does he have some struggles catching the football? Sure. But overall, I think that he is a solid tight end. And I would agree with you, Eric, in the sense that he is, having a breakout to me. And I think the Bills view it that way as well. I mean, what did he play? The most snaps of his career?
88% last week.
88% last week. So I think it's pretty clear that the Bills view it the same way that you are. And I would be on your side as well. I think that Dawson Knox is a talented tight end, and if he can put it together from a catching the football standpoint, he's almost as complete as it gets. And, I think that the drops are obviously very talked about, but I think that's a bit of an overrated topic because I think that he can catch the ball well, and I like Dawson Knox a lot and the versatility that he can bring at the tight end position.
All right, Matt, thank you so much. Tell the people where they can find you on social media if they want to interact with you about Buffalo Bills football.
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at Matt Zigai. I'm always open to interacting with the Bills community and getting into a good football discussion. So at Matt Zigai on Twitter, that's where we can do that.
All right, Matt, thank you so much. We appreciate your time, and Matt will be back. Matt will be back, and he will be a regular part of these BF tailgates. So thank you, Matt. We appreciate it. Have a good one.
Thanks, fellas. Go Bills.
Go Bills.
Go Bills.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, and then there were three, and my camera sucks right now. Okay, I don't like how close this thing is to my face. How are we all doing? Then there were three, ladies and gentlemen, and I want to start with you, Eric. You just asked Matt about Dawson Knox. 88% of the snaps last week. What are you expecting from Dawson Knox this week, and what are you expecting from him heading into the future?
I'm expecting 4 to 7 catches today in this game for Dawson Knox, and I'm expecting a touchdown for him coming out of a red zone play. I think Dawson Knox is in the midst of a breakout season. I think this is the year he puts it together. Historically, we know that it takes tight ends a little bit of time in order to get right. Unless you're Kyle Pitts or maybe TJ Hawkinson, it takes a little bit of time. And we've seen that time and time again from tight ends. Now, Dawson Knox, we got to remember, he hasn't been playing tight end his entire football career. He's, still relatively raw in terms of the position, but I think this is the year he puts it together. I think now he's becoming a big part of this offense. I think that the Bills coaching staff and scouting staff understand how to employ the tight end properly in the modern NFL. I think they see the way that teams use Rob Gronkowski. I think they see the way that Travis Kelce is used. I think they see the way that other elite tight ends in this league are used. I think we're going to see Dawson Knox become more and more of a factor. I would go so far as to say that you might even see Dawson Knox used in some really hyper creative ways. I mean, get Dawson Knox going on end arounds. He's hard to tackle. We've seen that before. We've all seen him crush that player in the Cincinnati game a couple years ago and just keep on going. I think Dawson Knox is a crucial weapon. And if you give him more ability, if you give him, more opportunity to run with, I think he's going to take it. I think this is his year.
Yeah,
I made a bold prediction at the beginning of the season before the Pittsburgh game that Dawson Knox is going to have 10 plus TDs this year. And I stand by that prediction.
Ooh. He's got one so far. So
yep.
Only 9 more to go. We got Joey coming in saying, should I start him over Gronk Passy? No, you should not. Listen,
he does have a good matchup today, though.
He does have a good matchup today, but listen, Rob Gronkowski seems to be Tom Brady's favorite boy. And what did he catch? 2 touchdowns last week.
Yeah.
You ride Gronk until he proves to you that you should no longer ride him. So I would go with Rob
unless you're in a 2 tight end league.
Yeah. Then you might consider.
Yeah.
If you're really in a pinch and you're in like a 16-team league, Dawson Knox could be your flex player in the second tight end this week. Be free. And I've seen a couple people in the comment section make this comment, like he needs to be more consistent, or he catches the tough passes, but he drops the easy ones. To his credit,
not this year.
The sample size this year through 2 games, he has not dropped a pass. So, and he's caught some tough ones. I will say this though. I think that this is a game where you might, I'm not as high on Dawson Knox in this game, and here's why. I think you're going to see Dawson Knox utilized a lot today, chipping those edge rushers. Like the Buffalo Bills are going to want to chip Chase Young. They're going to want to chip Montez Sweat. So that might limit what Dawson Knox can do. But that being said, Mark K coming in saying his yards after catch is elite. He chips an edge defender, looks like he's going to come in, stay into block, but then he turns around and catches those dump offs. He can do some work with that.
Moss is good in pass pro. Moss is very good in pass pro. If you get Moss going in pass pro,
you might need 2 this week. Where our offensive lines play him. Dave, what do you think about Dawson Knox and how he might be able to contribute this week against the Washington football team? I have not said the R word yet, so I'm pretty proud of myself. I almost did there.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's been low volume so far this year for him. I mean, he's got 6 catches, no drops, obviously. So this is kind of like a microcosm of the entire passing offense, right? I mean, his 6 catches and a touchdown, it's not really fair to say, oh, well, like his volume's low, because in reality, the volume has been low for even guys like Stephon Diggs, right? Cole Beasley doesn't have a ton of catches so far this year. So I think what you said was right? Every chance he's had this year, he has taken advantage of it, even though it has been a small sample size, 6 catches on 7 targets. But if we look back at his stats from last year, he was only around that 50 to 60% catch rate on his targets, and obviously 6 for 7 so far this year. So he's trending in the right direction. Am I ready to say he's going to break out? He's over everything? No, but I am ready to say that he's done everything that's been asked of him so far this year. So I think the confidence is probably there for him now, higher than it was probably even in training camp, right? Mm-hmm. And we've talked about this a lot, how the mental aspect of him getting over the drops and things like that has always really been, at least in my mind, the question. The physical abilities and what he could actually bring to you potential wise on the field has never really been the question. Is it going to get over those mental hurdles? And so far he has. So I don't know what that means for him today. I don't know if that means he's going to have the 4 to 7 catches Eric predicts, but I could see 4 I would say, yeah, he could be on maybe the lower end of that, 4 to 5 catches. And that would be a nice game for him. And he might get in the end zone as well.
We got Jessica Tennis coming in saying best blocking tight end equals Spencer Brown. Listen, Dave, I think we've earned the right to toot our own horn a little bit. When Spencer Brown was drafted, what was one of the first comments we made? We could go light at tight end, and Spencer Brown could be a blocking tight end. That was something we mentioned in our draft coverage. That's something we mentioned on the air raid hour. So I'm going to toot my own horn a little bit here, our horn a little bit here. And yeah, he has looked like a monster in run blocking through 2 weeks. Like he had some monster blocks in that Miami game when he was out there as that sort of 6th offensive lineman. Do you think, windy day today, Washington football team has struggled against the run despite on paper having a pretty decent front 7, Josh Allen struggles, et cetera, trying to get him to calm down a little bit? Could we see a decent amount of Spencer Brown this week? Dave, what do you think?
I think you could, but I would think it's probably going to be more in the red zone or near the goal line. I do think that the Bills have to feel like they're needing to cash in a little bit more in the red zone and at the goal line than they have so far this year. I know, first, essentially series of the year, McKenzie has that big return and we settle for a field goal, right? So I think that down at the goal line, Spencer Brown's going to be valuable. I think, between him and, like Eric said, Moss being there in pass protection, like, you have some good options now down at the goal line. It doesn't always have to just be Josh Allen trying to, bootleg out and run. Like, that's a great weapon to have, but the more you can mix in other things and make the defense guess a little bit more on what you might do down there, that's to me where I see Spencer Brown being valuable even today in today's game. Do I think that we're going to come out and kind of do what we did against in that New England game last year, where it was just like run, and both teams were just running up, like just basically running offense only? No, but I do think he can get worked in a little bit more at the goal line.
All right. Speaking of like sort of auxiliary or complementary weapons, Devin Singletary and Zack Moss both got an opportunity to play last week. Obviously, Devin broke off that big run, helped his yards per carry average and scored the touchdown. But then Zack Moss countered with lower yards per carry, but he got tougher runs. He didn't break off a big one like Devin Singletary did. And he ended up scoring 2 of the Buffalo Bills touchdowns in the 35-0 rout of the Miami Dolphins. Who do the Buffalo Bills utilize more out of the backfield this week? Is it going to be Devin Singletary or is it going to be Zack Moss? Who we riding this week? Eric, what do you think?
So I think this question can be answered in 2 ways. The first way is the hot hand method of viewing this. Which running back is taking off during the game? And whichever running back that is might get more volume. The other way to look at this is situationally. If you look at these 2 players, they're not used the same way. Moss seems to be used in these, just as you mentioned, Judge, he seems to be used in these more short yardage, power scheme, heavy run sets. That seems to be, the status quo, at least so far, for Zack Moss. And we seem to see Devin Singletary be involved in more of a general way, maybe that first to third down back, and then you have Zack Moss on third down or near the goal line. But I think that more likely is the hot hand approach. We're going to see which of these running backs is performing better during the game, and then they're going to ride one or the other in terms of who gets the higher volume in that game. But I do think that it will vary from game to game moving forward.
We got a super chat here from Brendan P. But before that, Dave, what do you think? Who's the hot hand today? Who do we ride more? Devin Singletary or Zack Moss?
I think if things play out the way you kind of want them to play out from like a game script and game flow perspective, I'd like to see it sort of similar to last week, right? You have Devin Singletary kind of open the game, try to open things up, maybe get some of those big runs, and then Moss is your closer and your guy down at the goal line. I think from a complementary standpoint, like that seems to work well. And I think if we had our ideal, our ideal sort of script, it would be Singletary to start the game, Moss to close it out, and then Moss at the goal line. That's kind of like broadly how I'd see the usage. Now that doesn't mean you can't sprinkle in Moss for a series here and there where you want to, like Eric said, like if he's hot and he's picking up, his vision is good today and he's picking up, the right holes and everything, then fine. But we don't know that yet. So I'd think like just off the shelf, you'd say Singletary to start the game, Moss to finish, and Moss at the goal line.
And I will say this too. I wouldn't mind seeing them both out there at the same time. Like we saw some of that last year where they were both on the same, the field at the same time. You had Josh Allen, Devin Singletary, and Zack Moss. I mean, these guys are both capable players. We've seen them play in the spread offense. So have the threat of both of them in the backfield, move one of them out, et cetera, et cetera. I know this is very unlike the Buffalo Bills, but maybe a little bit of wildcat action this week where a direct snap to a running back. And that's how we sort of try to get the running back game going. So, that could all be some super interesting things. I think the Buffalo Bills can get a little bit more creative in the run game because as you guys have mentioned before, whenever Spencer Brown comes onto the field, whenever Tommy Sweeney comes onto the field, whenever Reggie Gilliam comes onto the field, I roll my eyes because that's not who we are. That's not who we are as a football team anymore. And that's not who we want to be with Josh Allen as our quarterback. We want to be a team who can run the ball out of spread formations or can run the ball out of 11 personnel. Like every time it's 3rd and 1 and we bring out all the big dudes, I'm like, what the hell are we doing? Spread them out and have Josh Allen scramble up the middle. Like, the QB draw, like
Let's see Diggs on a run.
The big beefy packages for the sake of big beefy packages, trying to play like 1985 football. I just don't understand it. We're not the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. You're not going to see us roll out Cameron Brate, OJ Howard, Rob Gronkowski, and be able to effectively play that kind of offense, that play action-y type of offense, that 12 personnel type of stuff. That's not our DNA right now. And it just bugs the hell out of me whenever we pull these guys out on the field and try to be something we're not. But Brendan P coming in with the super chat saying, which wide receiver is going to have a big day? Most people are saying Cole Beasley. Dave, who are you going with the big day today?
Well, yeah, my wild card pick on Thursday's show was Cole Beasley, right? Matt mentioned Emmanuel Sanders. We all kind of expect Diggs to do his thing, but it's Cole Beasley's time. And I know he's not typically like a wild card guy because he's a little more high profile than that. And that's typically reserved for like guys that we kind of expect to come out of nowhere. But, Beasley hasn't had really a signature game yet. It's only been 2 games, but he really hasn't like had a signature moment or like a big moment yet this season. And I think he's due. I mentioned how he scored 2 years ago against Washington. I know it's different personnel, but same coach, same defense. And there was some success there. Even down near the goal line is where he scored. So I expect Beasley to be the one that reaps the rewards for that. I think, again, like I mentioned earlier, if the wind is such a big factor, get Beasley in motion, get some motion going before the snap, let him get off the ball clean, get off the snap clean. And if he does, no one's going to be able to cover him in the short areas. So I like Beasley. I don't know that his yards are going to be huge, but I expect him to get a lot of targets and a lot of catches.
I'm looking up prop bets right now. I'm looking for, it looks like FanDuel only does, player total receptions. Here we go. I'm pulling up Cole Beasley right now. Over under. Ooh. Uber had it right on the money. He said the over under was 4.5 on Cole Beasley, and it's plus 102. You're seeing it in person right now, ladies and gentlemen. I might as well. I'm thinking about placing $20 on Cole Beasley over 20 catches this week.
Over 20 catches?
Or no. $20 on over
I better
4.5,
pay out like 500
over 4.5 catches. I might smash that over right now and put $20 down on that. So I'm digging that. Eric, who do you have as your wide receiver to bust loose this week?
I'm going to be a little bit different here. I know I'm wearing my Diggs jersey, but I mean, it's Stephon Diggs. Okay. But I'm going to go off the beaten path here. Jake Kumro.
Ooh,
is going to have a big game today.
A touchdown. Jesus. You mean he's going to have 1 catch for 15 yards and a touchdown?
I'm actually thinking he's going to have 2 touchdowns.
Oh, 2 catches for 30 yards and a touchdown?
Yeah, exactly. And actually, it's going to be 20 catches. No, I'm just kidding.
He's not allowed. He's not allowed in the field unless he's in the red. He's not allowed in the field. His Buffalo Bills career needs to be marked by the fact that he only scores touchdowns. I only want that dude on the field in the red zone. I only want him running routes into the end zone.
The new Justin Hunter.
Even when he's in the red zone, I don't even want him running routes short of the goal line. Let's not risk it, folks.
So
only put him at the goal line.
Touchdown Jesus is a mismatch in most games, but especially this one against a leaky, weak Washington secondary. I almost said Redskins there. I didn't do it. I almost did. But I think that
hard R right there. Hard R.
Yeah, I think that
almost said R word. Redacted.
Hashtag redacted.
Washington redacted.
Yeah. So Kumaro is a mismatch against the secondary, and I think that he's going to be effective today. I think that we're going to see him used. He hasn't been used much yet this season. I think this is the week that we see him start to get integrated into that end zone a little bit more.
We got Carl coming into the super chat, and we're going to get to the Carl super chat in a moment. But before we do, I made it clear on Thursday's show. I think Isaiah McKenzie is going to have at least 5 touches this week, and he's going to make the most of those 5 touches, whether it's in jet sweep or it's in any of those, different things they do out of the backfield or just, yards after catch, punt returns, etc. He's going to have 5 to 8 touches this week between special teams and wide receiver. I think misdirection is going to be a big part of this offense this week, and I think he has a big game. I want to talk about Emmanuel Sanders real quick before we get to Carl super chat. It looks like they're force feeding the ball, but really, Beasley and Diggs have been bracketed. Davis hasn't been healthy, et cetera, et cetera. I want Emmanuel Sanders to have a big week one of these weeks just to shut people up, number one. And number two, his press conferences. I want to hear your guys' thoughts on his press conferences. Is he the tone? Like, he says the right things, right? Like, I don't give a shit about how many balls I catch, et cetera, et cetera. I just want to win. But the way he says it, kind of comes off as very nonchalant, which is what some people might argue his play on the field has looked like so far through 2 games. What are your guys' thoughts on just the way Emmanuel Sanders carries himself and how we can keep integrating him in this offense? Dave, I see you smirking. I want Dave to start off with this one because I see him smirking here.
I'm not reading too much into it. Emmanuel Sanders is a pro. He's a veteran. He's
already talking about winning a Super Bowl and going and sitting on a beach somewhere.
But I'm okay with that because he had.
That's why he's here.
He's transparent with exactly why he's here. Like, he's not here for a rebuild, which we're not obviously doing. He's here to come in, try to get his ring, and ride off into the sunset. He played with 2 different teams last year. He's played with multiple. This is his 5th team, I believe, in his career, right? Denver, Pittsburgh, San Fran, Saints, and now the Bills. Like, he's going after that ring. So, like, I'm actually okay with him being super candid like that. And I also don't worry about his play on the field or him in practice or work ethic or anything like that, because the guy wouldn't have been around the NFL as long as he's been and been as productive as he's been if he wasn't good in practice and if he wasn't a hard worker. So that goes
or been able to come back from his injury.
Right. He's had some injuries too.
A ton of injuries, yeah.
So it doesn't bother me. I think it's totally fine. I'm good with it.
Eric, any thoughts on that?
To tack on to what Tilt said, because I pretty much agree with everything he said. I think that I think we as Bills fans, all of you out there, Bills Mafia, you should be proud that a player is talking like this, that they came to Buffalo to win a championship. Think about that. Think about for how many years did the Buffalo Bills struggle to bring in players in free agency? How many years did they struggle to keep players motivated, whether they were drafted or whatever the case, the circumstances may be? And now we have a player who came here to win a championship. Think about the gravitas of that statement for a second. And think about the fact that Emmanuel Sanders is an experienced, skilled, responsible wide receiver. Everywhere he's been in the league, he has given his all. And you can expect that from him anytime you see him, anytime he's on the field. And the Buffalo Bills know that. And that's why they brought him here. And this is one of those players that leads by example. He doesn't need to be rah-rah in the locker room. He doesn't need to give some big, complex, complicated speech. He goes in there, and these young wide receivers in this wide receiver room, they know who he is, and they know what he's about because they've watched him for years just like we have. And they know that he's going to bring it. And they better be paying attention because they're going to learn something when he does.
Got Carl coming in saying the Bills need the O-line to perform. If they can keep Young and Smith Williams away from Josh, and if they can open holes for our running backs, then we will dominate. I don't disagree. Like, if our offensive line dictates to their defensive line, we are in for a big game for the Buffalo Bills today because their secondary ain't the greatest in the world. I mean, Fuller is a good player and they got some good young pieces back there, but they're not world beaters back there in the secondary. So I 100% agree with you there, Carl. What are your thoughts on the Buffalo Bills offensive line today? Dave, we'll start with you.
Well, like I was mentioning earlier about, getting back into rhythm for this offense, if the Bills offensive line wants to get some of that heat off their backs that they're taking right now, coming out and establishing that line of scrimmage early, run blocking early with some attitude is a great way to do that. Feliciano came back last week and made some comment online about how people were dogging him. And I'm thinking to myself, dude, you maybe had a couple good plays in the a few good, I hope he's not watching, which he obviously isn't, but a few good plays doesn't mean all of a sudden, we're a great offensive line. I'm sorry. The offensive line still hasn't been good. So, were they incrementally better than week 1? Yeah, but they need to take another step. They need to take another step again this week because Miami's defensive line, if you look at the 3 weeks, right? Steelers were really good. Miami then in between, and now Washington. Steelers and Washington are closer together than Miami is to either of those two. So Washington is a team you need to take seriously on the defensive line. Do you really want to, if you're the Bills offensive line, get ragdolled again and get talked about all week? Probably not. They're probably getting tired of it. So come out and show something today and control that line of scrimmage and maybe get people to shut up about it. That's what I would say.
I got BFO Mafia News coming in saying, let's spank these bums. Eric, what do you think? The Buffalo Bills offensive line, will they be able to dictate to this Washington football team defensive line today? Or is it going to be a little bit of what we've seen the first 2 weeks of the season? Maybe more so the second week than the first week.
I think the Bills O-line is going to absolutely dominate today. And I say that because Washington has struggled defensively thus far this season. I think that continues today. I think that the Bills offensive line finds its rhythm. And I think that the Washington defensive line has a hard time playing in our stadium. I think it's going to be rocking. I think the offensive line is going to be in sync with Josh. I think pass protection in the backfield is going to be on point. So I think overall, this offensive line gets it together today.
Yeah, I mean, it should be interesting. I mentioned this on Thursday's show. This almost seems like a matchup of who gets their get-right game. Is it Washington's defense, who looks good on paper, or is it the Buffalo Bills offense, which, I mean, still managed to score 35 points last week, but who has their get-right game this week? Is it Josh Allen, or is it the Washington football team defense? If it's the Washington football team defense, we could be in for a low-scoring slobber knocker of a football game, one that we're still going to be competitive in and one that we could still win, just like the Pittsburgh game, but it might not be as pretty as a lot of the people who have made game predictions so far have made it out to be. That being said, Dave, you are out of here at 1:30. So paint a picture for us. Take us back to the future. What do the Buffalo Bills paint a picture of how the Buffalo Bills play today and give us your score prediction.
Yeah, so I'm going to try to combine all of my predictions from this show and the last show into one picture because I want to stay I want to stay consistent. Right?
So like a Van Gogh or a Jack, more like a Jackson Pollock. It might just be all over the place. Right?
I just don't want it. I don't want there to be a clip of my show of Thursday and then me a clip of today, and they just say the total opposite things.
Like a Stephen A. Smith or a Nick Wright. You don't want to get into that. Colin Cowherd special.
So Thursday, I said my wild card was Cole Beasley. I said my take me higher player was Matt Milano. And I said my bold prediction was that the defense would have 4 takeaways. So combining that hot take bold prediction of 4 takeaways, Milano's going to be key in that as my take me higher player. Cole Beasley, like I've been mentioning today and on Thursday, is gonna work the short areas of the field, especially if the wind is a factor. And I think the Bills end up putting up, more touchdowns because their defense is going to take the ball away and give them short fields today. And so they're going to capitalize more today with touchdowns than maybe they had in week 1. Now I know in week 2 they scored, 5 touchdowns, but 2 were really early and then obviously kind of spread out the rest of the game. So I like the defense to have a huge game. I think what you said, Steve, earlier is kind of what I'm expecting. I don't think Josh necessarily going to have a huge statistical game, but I think he's going to have a good game when we go back and look at it after the fact. And like I said, the defense in Milano, who I think has been the best player on the Bills defense through 2 games, is going to have a big, big day today against Taylor Heineke, who hasn't played a defense like this yet this year. So my prediction for the score is going to be the same as I had it on Thursday. And it's going to be 34-13 Bills. Washington maybe scores a late, touchdown that's meaningless. They're not able to get into the end zone. The Bills defense puts the offense in short fields, and Bass kicks a couple field goals, maybe one before the half, and maybe another one here or there. So 2 field goals for Bass, 4 touchdowns for the Bills, and the final will be 34-13.
All right. So Dave, that'll do it for your portion here of the BF Tailgate. And we will be back, ladies and gentlemen, in 1 minute. Me and Eric will take you right up to kickoff. By right up to kickoff, I mean 12:45, because I have to pee, pour a beer, make a little bit of food, and make sure my Sunday ticket's working. So,
and let me just thank everyone for tuning in, because we have almost 300 people right now.
Oh, yeah.
With about 30 minutes to go to game time. So appreciate the support. Everyone in the comments section is on fire today, and everyone's hyped for this game.
I'll tell you what, Terry Pagula just saw how many people are watching this pregame show, and he did something right now.
Terry just texted me to smile.
He texted me a smile. Like, he saw how many people were in this. He saw how many people were in this broadcast, and he texted me a smile. And he also texted me, smash that like button. So, ladies and gentlemen, make sure we're going to be back in 1 minute. With me and Eric are going to close out the show for you. We'll be back in 1 minute, but smash that like button while you're getting up and grabbing some chips or grabbing another beer. And we'll be right back in 1 minute.
Go Bills.
right, ladies and gentlemen, we're back. It's just me. So Eric should be back shortly, but it is just me, Eric, with 5 seconds left on the countdown timer. 5 seconds left on the countdown timer. He leaves me here on my lonesome. So wasn't quite ready for that because my plan was to ask Eric about his BF Spy column this week. But when he comes back, I will make sure to ask him about his BF Spy column this week. But we got Elliot Eisler in the chat here saying, smash that like button. I would appreciate a smashing of that like button. As we got Eric making a comeback here, I want to talk about Tyler Heineke. So Tyler Heineke is the one I want to start off this last stretch, this last 15, 20 minutes before the Buffalo Bills game. And BFL Mafia dudes, you're going to have to hit the rewind button because we already had this conversation on Vernon Butler. But right around the 11:30 mark when the inactives came out, Tyler Heineke, right? It was, I've been watching his games, right? And I watched every snap of that Giants game. And the one thing I noticed was I knew the receiver he was throwing it to on every single play. Every single play, Tyler Heineke's eyes went to one side of the field and they never really moved to the second side of the field. It was a lot of predetermined where the ball was going. And it was a lot of when he took his shots down the field, you knew who that shot was going to because he stared that guy down his whole route. And he threw up a 50-50 ball and the receiver just ended up coming up with the 50-50 ball. You saw the Buffalo Bills have success last week, shutting down Tua Tagovailoa, using Jordan Poyer and Micah Hyde to take away that first read. Once that first read was taken away, the quarterback panicked. We ended up getting a sack or a dump off, and our linebackers did a really good job of first contact tackling. What are your thoughts, Eric, on Tyler Heineke? I think the Buffalo Bills are going to be the team to figure this kid out. What do you think?
First of all, can you hear me? Because I had a mic issue a minute ago.
Yeah, no, we can hear you. You good.
Okay. So my thoughts on Taylor Heineke are that he is the type of quarterback who, like you said, he needs that kind of predetermined play set. I say that because he's lacking in experience. So let me say this. If he misses that first read, if that player is not available, if he can't complete that pass, then he will start to kind of just do his own thing and gunsling it.
Mm-hmm.
And we saw that in the last couple minutes of that game last Thursday Night Football. He threw a critical interception late in the fourth quarter where his primary read was not there. And so he just kind of just wing it. I'll just wing it. I'll just throw it. We'll see what happens. It was a crucial interception. He did end up, coming back in the clutch a couple minutes later when they got the ball back, luckily. But if he doesn't hit his first read, he's just going to improvise. That's what we have to realize about Taylor Heineke. Although his abilities to do pretty much everything in this game are going to be limited by the fact that he's lacking in experience and he's going to be exposed to a hyped AF crowd down at Highmark.
Yeah,
and Mafia is going to bring it today.
I'm not gonna lie to you. That was a talking point that I missed this week. That is this really what his going to be his sixth snap in a on the road. So that's pretty crazy. And BFL Mafia News coming in saying I smell Trey getting his second pick of the year. Hopefully this one doesn't get taken away by a penalty as well. Does Trey actually have an official interception this season? Did I miss that?
Oh.
I'm pretty sure his interception got taken back by a penalty.
So am I.
Yeah, we're gonna have two take it back penalties. What's gonna happen? So, hopefully the referees don't take away the penalty. Elliot Ozer coming in saying he's gonna go for a pick six today. At the risk of sounding too cocky, because I feel like every time here's the thing, we're a good football team, despite the fact that we're 1-1 and kind of got worked the first week of the season, despite the fact that Josh Allen's still trying to figure some things out this season. We're a really good football team, and we should be talking about this team like we're a really good football team, but it's just 15, 20 years of just getting my skull bashed in by this football team makes me not want to puff my chest, right? Because I feel like if I puff my chest and they go out and lay an egg, it's my fault. But I'm fairly confident that we're going to win the turnover battle today, and we're going to win it decisively. I think that these DBs are going to pick off Tyler Heineke 2-3 times this football game. On Thursday's show, the Air Raid Hour, my prediction was going to be 2 interceptions. That was going to be my bold prediction for the game, was the Buffalo Bills grab 2 interceptions. Dave beat me to it. So right before me, he said, I think they're going to get 2, possibly 3 interceptions. So he beat me to it. So I pivoted on my prediction to, I think we get a defensive touchdown this week. So I think this is a week where we could possibly see the Buffalo Bills score a defensive touchdown. I think this is a game where, you look at the skill in this defense. Teron Johnson flying all over the football field. Matt Milano flying all over the football field. Tremaine Edmonds Everyone else is flying around the football field, so he can just do his job in the middle. Jordan Poyer, Micah Hyde, making their presence known. Trey White, people are saying he's struggling. I think he's doing pretty good for a zone corner. And then this defensive line is working offensive lines this year. So I think this is a week where the Buffalo Bills could have a pretty decent success rate against a Washington football team defense. And when Eric comes back, I want to get his thoughts on how the Buffalo Bills can be successful and his keys to the game. If you check the description portion of this BF Tailgate, if you head over into the description at the bottom of YouTube, you'll see a number of different things linked on YouTube. The number one thing you'll see linked is the Buffalo Fanatics Podcasting Network. The Buffalo Fanatics Podcasting Network, all of the Buffalo Fanatics recasts are right there for you on the Buffalo Fanatics Podcasting Network. So if you ever can't catch this BF Tailgate live, like you're out doing yard work, you're out on the move, et cetera, go on over to the Buffalo Fanatics Podcasting Network. You can listen to the Air Raid Hour, which on Thursday previews the game, breaks down the game. You can listen to that. You can listen to the Rico Report every Friday, previews the Buffalo Bills game. Even the back half of Z-Bot Show on Wednesday breaks down the Buffalo Bills game. So if you ever happen to not be able to catch this pregame show, we still got you covered at Buffalo Fanatics On Demand. Head on over to thebuffalofanatics.com. Every week, Michael Lefebvre breaks down and previews the game ad nauseum, like literally everything you can think about to preview a Bills Washington football team game. Michael Lefebvre breaks it down. Alex Lucci breaks down all the injuries. And this guy right here, who's back now, his article is linked below if you want to check it out before the game, the BF Spy series. And that's what I wanted to talk to you today about. What are the keys to the Buffalo Bills winning this football game today based on your BF Spy series?
I think the keys are overcoming that Washington pass rush. We've got to be able to deal with it in an effective manner. I think what's going to be really key to that, we've kind of talked about this a little bit, but pass protection needs to be on point. The offensive line needs to be in sync. There can't be any miscommunications, and pass protection in the backfield has to be very good. I think that it's important for Josh to be hitting quick passes to start off, maybe even go a little hurry up here and there. But you can overcome this pass rush of Washington by being unpredictable, by being a little bit more up tempo, and by just generally confusing them. And that seems to be the case for the Washington pass rush thus far in 2021. They're having a hard time. Washington is blitzing a lot more in this 2021 season. For those of you who weren't watching earlier when I talked about this, we know Josh Allen can shred a blitz. So look for that. I think that's going to be the most crucial key. And I also think that special teams is going to be crucial in this game.
Mm-hmm.
I think we overlook that. We tend to overlook that sometimes in modern NFL. But I think this being an away game for Washington, home game for the Bills, I think special teams is going to be crucial here. I expect good things from Isaiah McKenzie in the return game.
Yeah, we got Don Keith. This is why I love the comment section here, because there's some great comments in this comment section right now. Don Keith coming in saying, Nick Wrong just went live on Instagram. I think I'll pass. Here's my question for Nick Wright when he goes live on Instagram. Does he have to censor his nose? Because I don't know if you're allowed to show a penis live on Instagram. I don't know if that's something you're allowed to do. So does he have to censor his nose when he goes live? Or does Instagram allow him to show? Does he get a penis exemption from Instagram? That's something I'm pretty curious about. And then this might be the comment of the day from Y. And this is, I think, what BFLO Mafia News is looking for. This is the energy BFLO Mafia News is looking for today. He comes in, Y comes in and says, maybe someone will run into Vernon Butler today so we can actually make it. I love you guys, man. You guys make this show 100% what it is every week, whether it's the Air Raid Hour or whether it's or whether it's the BF Tailgate, man. You guys are freaking awesome. And Elliot coming in saying, dick nose.
For all the fanatics. There wouldn't be a BF if it wasn't for all the fanatics. So thank you guys so much.
Yeah, Don saying that Josh Allen and Chase Young bumped helmets in the tunnel pregame. Man, game respects game, right? I mean,
real recognize real. That's what I was going to say.
Yeah, it's that's an awesome thing. I'll have to catch that on Twitter. That's the one thing that stinks about the BF Tailgate is I feel like the game starts and I feel like I'm unprepared because I'm up to the we're right up to the buzzer here with the Tailgame show. So it should be interesting to see. That's the one guy that scares the hell out of me. Talk about Chase Young a little bit and what we got to do to shut down Chase Young today.
So Chase Young's obviously he's everything that you want in a pass rusher. Although we do have to remember he's still a young player. You know, he's still learning how to be himself in this league. he's going to be probably the most deadly weapon on their defense in terms of being able to hurt you. I think with Chase Young, you're going to have to beat him by double teaming him. You're going to have to beat him by chipping him. And you're going to have to beat him by outmaneuvering him. Luckily, the Bills have a good offense to do just that. Josh Allen is maneuverable enough to be able to deal with him. And as long as he's not standing back there holding the ball, being a statue, we have a much more, higher likelihood of being able to deal with Chase Young effectively. But if you let him get penetration into that backfield, you're not getting away.
Mm-hmm.
And even the best quarterbacks in this league, it's been shown that. Now, he's obviously more effective against quarterbacks that just stand there. And Colin comes in with a great comment. Sweat has more pressures than I think.
A lot of that might have to do with just the fact that teams are double teaming Chase Young too.
Right. He's getting double teams. Okay. So that's very important to realize. Also, Jonathan Allen in the interior of that Washington line, he's been effective this year as well, rushing from the interior. So
my
a little bit out of whack.
My question to you though is this: you have Deion Dawkins coming off of COVID. He struggled a little bit week 1, rebounded week 2. Darrell Williams, for some reason, struggled once he got his contract week 1. Rebounded a little bit week 2, but again, still not perfect. If you're the Buffalo Bills, who's getting the help with the chip? Is it Deion Dawkins on Chase Young, or is it Montez Sweat with Darrell Williams? Who's getting the most help this game? Is it going to be Deion or is it going to be Darrell?
I think it's going to be Darrell Williams.
So you think Montez Sweat's the one who gets chipped this game?
Yep.
All right. I mean, that's what happens when you pay a left tackle. You expect him to go out there and you expect him to shut down the other team's elite edge rusher, right? Without the need of help. So this is a game where Deion Dawkins, it's like, listen, Deion, Chase Young is a really good player, but guess what? Montez Sweat is too. We need you to be the franchise left tackle like we paid you to be. Go there and shut down Chase Young so we can go chip Montez Sweat and give Darrell Williams some help. So that's super interesting.
The standard is the standard. The standard is the standard.
All right, Mike Tomlin.
But it's true. It's true.
It is true. It is very true.
So the expectation for Deion is, and we all heard and saw this in the offseason leading up to the season, everybody noticed Sean McDermott was not taking it easy on Deion Dawkins. And one could even argue that he was critical in his comments about Deion. But the standard is the standard. He's expected to be the starting left tackle. He's expected to be that anchor there. He's not going to get any passes. Okay. He's not going to get any slack. That's not how it should be either. He's a player who's expected to perform at an elite level. And that's what is going to happen.
All right. So, ladies and gents, it is that time. We got about 5-ish minutes left here. And then we're going to let you, we're going to hop off around 12:45, let you and everyone and myself and Eric get ready for kickoff. Grab your beers, grab your popcorn, grab your wings, whatever it is. Pick up your DoorDash, pick up your pizzas, whatever you're doing for game day, however you are enjoying your game day. We're going to give you 15 minutes. Empty that bladder so you don't have to go during the game. But we got our first prediction rolling in here. We got John Petrocelli. I really screwed that one up. I was pretty confident I could do it, and then I couldn't. John Petrocelli. I'm going to go with that one. Comes in and says Buffalo 20, Washington football team 6. So, Eric, I want your prediction. And while you are giving your prediction, people in the comment section, please hit us up with your predictions, and we'll post them up here on the screen. So, Eric, what's your prediction for this game? Paint a picture for us.
Okay, well, the first part of the picture I'm going to paint is that we haven't talked about this yet, is the mentor versus the mentee. Okay, we've got Riverboat, the GOAT, Ron Rivera coming back.
The GOAT.
The Riverboat GOAT.
Okay, the Riverboat GOAT.
Let's make that distinction there. The Riverboat GOAT coming back to face his protege and Sean McDermott. I think that this is a good matchup for the two of them. Although I think that McDermott sticks it to his former mentor. I think they run the score up. I think Washington struggles today, and I see the Bills winning 41-10.
All right, I like that. Don Keith coming in saying 24-17. Joey Dixon coming in saying 30-16. BFO Mafia News coming in saying 52-10. Oh, 50 burger. Anthony Crowley coming in saying 27-17. Peter J coming in saying 34-10. And I've lost it here. There we go. King Thriller coming in saying 30-18. Chris S coming in saying 31-10. KBTV coming in saying 24-14.
Too close, KB.
Eightfold Baka coming in saying 27-13, which ironically is also my prediction for this football game. I think the Buffalo Bills do enough on offense, but I think they sputter a little bit in the red zone, and Tyler Bass has to kick some field goals. So 3 touchdowns, 2 field goals for the Buffalo Bills today is my prediction, and I do think we figure out Tyler Heineke and are able to slow down that Washington football team's offense. Scott Adele coming in saying 40-17. WBDX coming in saying 30-13. Josh Clark 31-17. And my comment section is a little frozen here, so we got a couple more in. Y says 69-0. Always gotta laugh at that. Matthew Rodsky coming in 42-17. Chaz Gilmore 34-19. WB2DX 30-13. So, ladies and gentlemen, that is about it for the BF Tailgate. Join us every pregame. So we will be here every pregame, whether it's some weeks it's 2 hours before kickoff, some weeks it's 3 hours before kickoff. It's all about whatever our various BF personalities can handle that week. But we will always bring you something. Even if it's just even an hour before kickoff. So Eric, get whatever it is you need to get off your chest here. Last call here.
Scary Terry McLaurin, Washington's wide R1. He has never had 200-yard games back-to-back in his career thus far. So interesting storyline for you guys to focus on there. It's going to be a good battle watching him going up against Trey if he does indeed shadow him.
All right. You can catch Eric's BF Spy column where he breaks down everything you need to know about all the various key matchups and what's going to take for the Buffalo Bills to win. And that drops every Friday morning on the BuffaloFanatics.com. Don't forget the BuffaloFanatics.com or theBuffaloFanatics.com. And don't forget to check out the Air Raid Hour. It might be a little biased, but we have ourselves a good time on Monday and Thursday nights. So join us, myself, Dave Tilton, on the Air Raid Hour Monday nights on the Buffalo Fanatics YouTube channel right here at 9 p.m. Monday, we react. Monday morning quarterback or Monday evening quarterback. And on Thursdays, we preview the game that is. So join us on the Air Raid Hour. And don't forget, coverage ain't done here at the Buffalo Fanatics in about 15 minutes. The man himself, Pierre Kingpin, will be on for live in-game reactions. And don't forget Rico in the postgame, the highest rated live stream show in the business. Rico after a football game. And hopefully we don't get rated R Rico. Hopefully it is going to be a Buffalo Bills win, and there's nothing but joyous celebration during the Rico report tonight. King Thriller, we're gonna end it with this one. He says, "Go Bills! Buffalo versus everybody." So last week it was Squish the Fish. What is one here? I rock the. No, I can't say rock the R words, can I? Wash out the Washington football team. Whatever. They're not even good enough for us to come up with a saying. So we're just gonna leave it with Go Bills. We're just gonna leave it with Go Bills. What?
Cream the team.
Cream the team. There we go. Ladies and gentlemen, cream the team. Cream the team from Washington. And until next time, Go Bills.
Go Bills.